The exam hall smelled of ink, dust, and panic. Every man in that quiet sea of scholars bent over his scroll like it held the key to heaven. I tried to focus on my own work, but the corner of my eye kept twitching toward the boy across the aisle. He sat like he owned the place, relaxed, tapping his brush against the table in a careless rhythm. His robes were plain, but his confidence was not. His grin was the worst part. No good man grins during the national exam. No honest one, at least. Then I saw him slide a thin slip of paper from inside his sleeve. I froze. He didn't even hide it well. He angled the sheet slightly, catching the light, and my stomach nodded. Characters written in a tight, quick hand. Cheat notes. I blinked once, twice, hoping I imagined it. He glanced up and our eyes met. He gave me a small smile, like we were sharing a joke. I whispered, "You cannot be serious." He mouthed, "Keep quiet." The nerve of him. I had spent 3 years preparing. 3 years of dawn lessons, cold tea, stiff brushwork, and the weight of my father's expectations pushing on my back. And here was this boy, this stranger with a too bright smile, strolling through the exam like it was a game. When the examiner passed behind us, he let the paper drop under the desk with the smooth hand of a thief. He even yawned. The examiner nodded at me. I nodded back. My heart refused to settle. After the exam ended, I stepped into the courtyard, still fuming. Before I could take 2 breaths, the boy appeared at my side, panting as if he had run from something. "Wait," he said. "No," I replied and started walking faster. He caught my sleeve. "Listen, scholar. I know what you saw. I saw a criminal." He winced as if I stabbed him with a brush. "A bit harsh. I prefer resourceful." "You cheated," I said. He pressed his hands together. "Please do not report me. I swear I will never do it again." "Your oath seems weak." "I will swear using your inkstone if that helps. Or your hand. Whichever is heavier." His grin returned. I yanked my sleeve free. "Your jokes do not make this better. They do not make it worse either." I should have marched straight to the examiner's office. Instead, I let him ramble. Something about needing money for medicine, something about noble brats who pay him to take exams for them. His tone was light, but his eyes were not. They carried shadows I could not read. "In any case, you have no proof," he said. That should not have mattered. Yet I said nothing. He bowed sharply and vanished into the crowd. I slept badly that night. Every time I closed my eyes, his grin hovered in the dark. The shameless attitude, that strange confidence. I woke before dawn and wandered toward the tutoring district. Fog wrapped around the clay roofs. Tea vendors shouted half-heartedly. I told myself I would take a walk and clear my mind. Instead, I found him again. He was perched on a windowsill, whispering instructions to a nobleman who looked terrified. On the table beside them sat a rolled cheat scroll. The same trick, the same nerve. I stepped into the doorway. "You promised." He nearly fell off the sill. "Oh, come on. It is not even noon. A man should not be judged so early in the day." "You lied." "I prefer flexible truth." The nobleman bolted, leaving the scroll behind. I moved toward the table, but the cheater snatched it first and hopped out the open window. I rushed after him, scraping my knee against the wood frame. "Stop!" I shouted. "You stop. I am busy saving my own life," he shouted back. I hurtled into the alley. He darted between baskets of vegetables and startled chickens. Every time I thought I had him, he slipped away like a fish. He looked back once, laughing despite his breath running short. "You chase like an angry grandmother," he called. "And you run like a thief. Because I am one." He skidded around a corner. I followed, almost crashing into a wall. Market noise swallowed us. Someone yelled about stolen buns. Someone else yelled about spilled noodles. My lungs burned. He leapt over a stack of crates. "Try to keep up, scholar." "I am," I said, even though I was not. He swung himself around a pole and disappeared behind a cloth shop. I sprinted, rounded the corner, and slammed straight into him. We both toppled into a pile of rolled carpets. He let out a groan. "You are heavier than you look," he muttered. "You deserve worse," I said, pinning his wrist before he could run again. He stared at my hand on his. His breathing slowed. His lashes flicked up to meet my eyes. Something brief and warm flickered there. Something I did not understand. He smelled of ink and mint leaves. "Let go," he whispered. "No," he huffed. "Then what? Drag me to the magistrate? Shout that you caught a con man? You think anyone will care? They all know the noble sons cheat half the time. I am only faster. That is not a defense. It is survival." For a moment his voice cracked, revealing something softer beneath the jokes. Then it vanished, replaced by the rhythm of sarcasm. "You know, most scholars would have given up by now. You are stubborn," he said, "and you are infuriating." He grinned again, the same grin from the exam hall. "Then we are even." I wanted to shake him. I wanted to shout. Instead, I loosened my grip. He took the chance instantly, slipping free and scrambling upright. "I will remember your face, scholar. Try not to miss me too much," he said. "I will not miss you at all." That sounded like a promise. He stepped backward, eyes bright, and then vanished into the maze of alleys in a blur of quick feet and laughter. I stood there catching my breath, carpet dust clinging to my sleeves. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt an odd spark under my ribs, steady and irritating, like a bruise that would not fade. I told myself I hoped never to see him again. I already knew that hope was useless. Next week, I went to Western District, but to be honest, if a scholar wants peace, he should never step into the Western District after sunset. I knew that. I told myself I would only look for a single book, one rumored to hold banned commentaries on ancient governance. I told myself I would be in and out before trouble found me. I even told myself I was smart. Yet at some point between the first alley and the third, I realized I had no idea where I was. The lamps grew dimmer. The smell of spices thickened. Laughter echoed from behind wooden screens. The street felt too narrow, as if it wanted to swallow me whole. I held my satchel tight and walked with the confidence of someone pretending he was not terrified. I found the shop I had been told about. Crooked sign. A narrow doorway. Inside, scrolls towered in uneven stacks. A man with half his teeth missing looked up from the counter. "You want something rare," he said. Cleared my throat. "I heard you might have old commentaries. Ones that were not copied after the last ban." His smile stretched. "Ah, forbidden things. Dangerous things. People vanish for asking. I only wish to study them." That is what the last boy said. They found him floating in the canal. My skin crawled. I opened my mouth to reply, but heavy footsteps sounded behind me. 5 men entered, all wearing mismatched armor. Their leader studied me with the same interest a cat shows a mouse. "Scholar," he said, "you are far from your exam hall. I am only browsing. You are in the wrong part of the city to browse, unless you plan to lose your purse. Or your fingers." The shopkeeper quietly stepped aside. I backed toward the door. The leader blocked it. "Hand over your satchel," he said. "No," he laughed. "Do you know how many scholars say that? They all squeal after the first punch." I braced myself. A terrible plan formed in my head. I could try to run. They would catch me. I could shout. No one would help me. I could fight. I would last 3 seconds. Then a familiar voice cut through the room. "There you are, brother. I knew you would get lost again." Joe Fan strode in, looking perfectly at ease. His hair was tied loosely, his robe a half step above ragged, but his confidence filled every corner of the shop. The leader squinted. "Brother." Joe Fan nodded. "Yes." He wandered off again. He does that. Brilliant mind, pathetic sense of direction. I stared at him, speechless. He draped an arm over my shoulder, leaning close enough that his breath brushed my ear. "Please shut up and let me save you," he whispered. "To the thugs," he said. "My apologies for the trouble. The poor boy is studying philosophy. It makes him stupid." I forced a cough instead of a protest. The leader eyed us. You expect me to believe you are brothers? Zhou Fan threw his head back and laughed. Look at us. We share the same eyebrows. I wanted to sink into the floor. One of the thugs whispered to the leader. The leader grunted. Fine. Take him and leave. Zhou Fan nodded, tugged my sleeve, and pulled me out of the shop. We walked quickly, then faster, then full speed down several alleys until the voices behind us faded. Only when we turned into a quiet, lantern-lit street did he release me. He planted his hands on his hips. Scholar, are you trying to die on your own before I get a chance to watch you trip over your own virtue? He said. I had it under control. You had nothing under control. They were about to turn you into a story people tell their children to scare them. I bristled. I did not ask for your help. You don't have to. His tone was light, but his eyes flicked over me as if checking for bruises. The thought warmed and irritated me at the same time. I straightened my robe. Why are you even here? Because I live here, unlike you. You walk around like a lost sage waiting for enlightenment to smack you in the face. I was looking for a book. Ah, yes, a book, naturally. When facing mortal danger, a scholar seeks scrolls. You saved me, thank you, I said. Zhou Fan blinked, surprised. Then a sly smile spread across his face. Say it again, slower this time. Make it sound heartfelt. I glared. Do not push your luck. He chuckled. There he is, the Li Ming I know, stiff as a board even after a rescue. The night breeze ruffled his hair. I hated that it suited him. I crossed my arms. Since you are so familiar with the city, you will guide me. I will what? You heard me. I need access to places where books are hidden. You know the streets. I do not. You will help me. He snorted. Why would I? Because if you do not, I will turn you in for cheating during the exam. His mouth dropped open. That is low. Even for you. You forced this. He pointed a finger at me. I saved your life. And I am offering an arrangement that keeps you out of prison. That is not an arrangement. That is blackmail. I shrugged. Then we understand each other. He groaned loudly, dragged his hands through his hair, and muttered, Heaven truly enjoys watching me suffer. You agree? No, he said, then added, Fine. Yes, I agree. But only because the idea of you wandering into another death trap offends me. If you die before repaying me for saving you, I will be furious. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. It is my sense. He stepped closer, close enough that his shoulder brushed mine. A spark ran along my spine. I told myself it was the night air. So we are partners now, he said. Hardly. Partners, congratulations. You have chosen the most troublesome man in the city. He repeated, tapping my chest as if sealing the word into me. I regret it already. No, you don't. He grinned, confident and bright. Something shifted in the air. A tension I pretended not to feel. His gaze lingered on me a second too long. I looked away first. He stretched his arms lazily. Well then, scholar, where to next? Book hunting? Criminal territory? Both. You will take me to the archives under the old theater tomorrow. Perfect. I love risking my life before breakfast. You complain too much. You give me too much to complain about. We walked side by side down the lantern path. Our footsteps matched. Our shadows merged and separated with every turn. He whistled a tune. I tried not to listen to it. I failed. He glanced sideways. You still thinking about turning me in? No. Why not? I have my reasons. He smirked. You do not. You just like me. I almost tripped. I do not. You do. I truly do not. He hummed thoughtfully. We will see. I had no answer. For once he stayed quiet. The night deepened around us, warm and close. I wondered how long this strange, unwelcome partnership would last. I told myself it would be brief. Even I did not believe that. If I had known what kind of trouble Zhou Fan attracted, I would have walked the long way around the city whenever I saw so much as a stray hairpin that resembled his. But by the third day of our uneasy partnership, It was too late. I had already followed him into alleys that twisted like snakes, across rooftops that creaked under our weight, and through markets where even the vendors kept knives within reach. He led, I followed, and I constantly questioned my sanity. We were crossing the bridge near the southern canal when he suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me behind a stack of crates. "What are you doing?" I hissed. "Saving your life," he whispered. "You always say that. And I am always right." He peered around the crates. I tried to look too, but he blocked me with his shoulder. "What is happening?" He stayed silent long enough that worry clawed its way into my throat. Finally, he said, "Remember how you blackmailed me into helping you?" "Yes." "Well, there is a small chance I neglected to mention someone is hunting me," he said. I stared at him. "A small chance. A very small chance. Someone is hunting you." "Yes. Because—" He lifted one finger. "Before you react, let me explain." "Explain quickly." He breathed in through his teeth. "I may have disguised myself as a pleasure house girl last year." "You what?" "For a con, no one looks twice at a girl carrying wine. It was brilliant," he whispered. I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Continue." "While I was doing that, I overheard two officials discussing a secret deal. Very illegal, very loud, very stupid on their part. And they saw you. They thought they saw a girl, but someone else saw me later. Someone who realized the girl was not a girl," he said. "And that someone is hunting you." "Yes. And you never thought to tell me this before now." He bit his lip. "I was hoping the man would give up." "What kind of man follows someone for months?" "The dedicated kind." I exhaled slowly. "Let me see." He moved aside just enough for me to look. Across the canal stood a man in black leather with a wide-brimmed hat, scanning the crowd. He looked like he could break me in half without blinking. His hand rested on the hilt of a sword. Zhou Fan whispered, "He is called Blackshore." "That sounds invented." "It is absolutely invented. But he likes it. And he breaks bones. So I respect his preferences." "We need to leave," I said. "We cannot run. He will see us." "Then what do you suggest?" He grabbed my hand. "Come on." "Wait. Why are we holding hands?" "Because if you fall behind, I will leave you." "You are impossible." He flashed a grin. "You knew that when you made the deal." He dragged me into a narrow gap between two buildings. The space smelled like mildew and old onions. Our shoulders scraped the walls. "This is too tight," I muttered. "Think of it as character building." "I do not want my character built." He pressed a finger to my lips. "Quiet. He is close." I shoved his hand away but shut my mouth. Footsteps echoed on the stones outside the alley. A shadow passed the entrance. My heartbeat thudded in my throat. Zhou Fan was tense beside me, breath held, body warm. Only when the footsteps faded did he whisper, "We move now." We slipped deeper into the maze of back alleys. At one point the walls became so narrow he had to duck his head and I had to turn sideways. He muttered, "Who designed this place? A starving snake?" "You are complaining again." "I complain to stay alive." We reached an abandoned scholar's attic near the river. The place looked like it had not been touched since last winter. Dust clung to everything. The slanted roof groaned in protest when I pushed the door open. Zhou Fan stepped inside first. "Perfect, a palace for two," he said. "You have low standards. You have no sense of fun." He tossed his cloak onto the floor. I set my satchel down beside it. Outside, the evening light dimmed, and the attic settled into a quiet hum. "You can sleep over there," I said, pointing to a pile of old mats. "I cannot sleep far away. What if Blackshore breaks in and murders you first? You think I can outrun him alone?" He said lightly. "You are protecting me?" "No, I am protecting my investment." I sighed. "Fine. Stay close." He smirked. "Try not to look too pleased." I gave him a look. He pretended not to notice. The air grew colder as night deepened. I pulled my cloak around me. He noticed and tossed half of his cloak across my shoulders. "I am not freezing," I said. You are terrible at lying, move closer. The wind leaks through the roof, he replied. I am fine here. Then I am moving closer. He slid beside me until our arms brushed. I stiffened. He did not. He leaned back against one of the wooden beams, hands behind his head. Enjoying yourself? I asked. Hugely. He closed his eyes. For a while the attic was silent except for the creak of the roof and the distant call of night vendors. I studied him in the dim light. His face looked different when he was not speaking, softer, younger, as if all the sarcasm melted away with sleep. You should rest, I said quietly. Only if you rest too. I am resting. Liar. He shifted, leaned forward, and before I understood what was happening, his head gently tipped onto my shoulder. I went completely still. His hair brushed my cheek. His breath warmed my collarbone. He murmured something soft that sounded like my name. My chest tightened in a way I did not know how to name. I whispered, Zhou Fan. No answer. He was already asleep. I should have moved him. I should have pushed him off. I should have kept boundaries clear. But his weight on my shoulder was warm, steady, real. The kind of closeness I had never allowed myself. I let out a slow breath and stayed there, unmoving. Minutes passed, maybe hours. My arm went numb. My heart did not settle. In the darkness of the attic, with his head on my shoulder and danger waiting outside, I felt something shift. Something small but undeniable. Not fear, not obligation. Something I was not ready to name. I stayed awake long after he drifted into steady breathing, listening for footsteps outside, watching the shadows crawl along the roof, protecting him. At least that was what I told myself. By the fourth day of traveling together, I had learned two things. First, Zhou Fan's mind moved faster than most river currents. Second, if he ever used that mind for anything other than scams and chaos, the empire would be forced to rename itself after him. He proved it again that morning. We were sitting outside a tea stall, pretending to be normal citizens on a normal day. I tried to read through a scroll while he balanced a cup on the tip of his finger. You are going to drop that, I said. I have grace, he replied. You have no grace. The cup wobbled once, twice, then settled. He smirked. Admit it. You were impressed. I was waiting for it to spill. He slid closer on the bench and pointed at my scroll. Your notes are wrong. I stiffened. My notes are not wrong. They are. See this line? You misread the original phrasing. The critic meant the people's burden, not the ruler's burden. Switch them and the argument makes more sense. I stared at him. How do you know that? He shrugged. I read things. You read things. That commentary is banned. I said slowly. I never said I read it legally. I set the scroll down, trying not to look impressed. You are irritating. And you like me, he said. That is debatable. He leaned back, hands behind his head. You cling to rules, but your brain is hungry. That is dangerous. I am not dangerous. You are lonely, he corrected quietly. The words hit harder than I expected. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. He watched me with a strange softness, something different from his usual mischief. Before I could reply, a shout rang from the street. Search every alley. They are close. Zhou Fan stiffened. That is for us. No, that is for you. I said, yes, but you are with me. Congratulations. He agreed cheerfully. I grabbed my scroll and his wrist. Move. He followed without a joke for once. We darted through the crowded street, dodging baskets, carts, and a goat that looked personally offended by our existence. The guards were closing in, shouting orders. Zhou Fan pointed left. Shortcut. That is not a shortcut. That is a wall. We climb walls. We do not climb walls. He laughed breathlessly. You say that, but look at you. I shoved him toward a side path instead. The guards turned the corner behind us. My pulse spiked. I yanked him into the nearest narrow alley. Too narrow. One step inside and our bodies were pressed together, chest to chest, breath meeting breath. Zhou Fan froze. I froze harder. The wall scraped my shoulder. His hand hit the stone beside my ear. His heartbeat thumped against mine in a frantic rhythm. He whispered, "If you wanted to hold me, you could have said so." "Shut up. You are blushing. I am hiding us from guards, you fool." He peeked over my shoulder toward the alley entrance. 3 guards. 1 tall, 2 short, 1 very ugly. "Focus." "I am focused. Entirely. On your face." I tried to push him back, but there was nowhere to push him to. The space swallowed us, squeezing every breath tight. His hair brushed my chin. His lips were too close. The guards passed slowly, lanterns swinging. We stayed perfectly still. He leaned a little closer. I felt the warmth of him travel through my ribs. Then, when the guards stopped a few steps away, Zhou whispered, "I need to check if they are leaving." "Fine," I whispered back. He leaned forward to peek out of the alley. I could feel his breath on my cheek. And then, too quickly, he turned back. Our mouths collided. It happened so fast I barely understood it. His lips met mine with a soft, startled sound. My hand shot out to steady myself. It landed on his waist. His fingers tightened unconsciously around my sleeve. I felt everything at once. The warmth, the shock, the way he inhaled sharply, the way I forgot how to breathe. We broke apart at the same time, both stumbling backward, which was impossible because there was no space. So we ended up bumping into each other again and arguing before either of us had air. "You turned too fast," I whispered fiercely. "You pulled me," he whispered back. "You kissed me. You kissed me." "I did not." "You absolutely did." "I was avoiding dying." "That was not avoiding dying. That was something else entirely." "We should never speak of this again." "Never speaking of it makes it sound important." I glared at him. "Apologize." "You apologize." "I did nothing wrong." "You kissed me," he repeated, folding his arms. "You collided with me. That is different." "No, it is not." We whispered furiously for several minutes like 2 idiots trapped in a rice jar. The guards walked away completely. We did not notice. Finally I said, "Enough. We leave." "Yes, before you kiss me again," he muttered. "I am going to strangle you. You have weak scholar arms." "Zhou." "Yes. Walk." He obeyed for once, though he gave me a smug sideways glance every 10 steps. My heartbeat refused to settle. Not even after we reached the empty street. Not even after the danger passed. We walked in silence for a while. The night smelled of river mist and hot oil from street food stalls. He kept stealing glances at me. "What now?" I said. "You are still blushing." "I am not." He grinned. "I liked it. I did not ask." "You did not have to." I stopped walking. "Zhou." He stopped too. His smile faded a little, replaced by something gentler. "It was an accident, I know," he said softly. I swallowed. "Yes. But it changed something," he added. I hated how true that felt. Something had shifted, quiet but undeniable. I said, "We should ignore it." His eyes held mine. "You can try." He walked ahead a few steps, then turned back with a small, tilted smile, the kind that reached his eyes. "Come on, scholar, we still have a city trying to eat us," he said. I followed him, trying to convince myself that my heartbeat would calm soon. It did not. It stayed stubborn, loud, and far too aware of the boy walking just ahead of me. By the time we reached the Eastern District, Zhou had stopped joking. That alone terrified me. His silence was sharp. His steps were quick and uneven. I followed him through the crowded street, trying to catch up. "Zhou, talk to me," I said. He didn't slow down. "Not now. You are worrying me. That is your problem." He finally stopped at a narrow wooden door wedged between a noodle stall and a fortune-teller's booth. When he pushed it open, the smell of medicine and damp blankets drifted out. Inside, a woman lay on a thin bed, her breathing shallow. A girl, maybe 12, knelt beside her, dabbing her forehead with a cloth that had long lost its coolness. "Mother collapsed again," the girl whispered. Her eyes were red. Zhou Fan dropped to his knees. Did she eat? She tried. She couldn't keep anything down. He put his hand on his mother's cheek. His voice turned soft, so soft it almost didn't sound like him. I told you to rest. You never listen. Her eyelids fluttered, but she didn't wake. I stepped forward. What happened? The girl looked at me, startled. Zhou Fan didn't. He said quietly, fever. It keeps returning. Has she seen a doctor? We cannot afford that, he said. I didn't think. I just moved. I will get one. Zhou Fan grabbed my wrist. Do not. Doctors here cost more than your exam fees. And I did not ask for your help. I pulled my hand free. You never do. Before he could argue, I stepped outside and ran. The nearest clinic was 3 streets away. The doctor there had a reputation for honesty. I paid him. He followed me back, grumbling about the distance, but he came. When we entered the small home, Zhou Fan looked like he wanted to throw me through the wall and thank me at the same time. The doctor examined her, muttering instructions, checking her pulse, mixing herbs. When he left, Zhou Fan's shoulders slumped so slightly I almost missed it. His sister curled up on a stool and fell asleep instantly. His mother slept deeper, her breathing steadier now. After an hour of silence, Zhou Fan sat back against the wall. I sat beside him. He didn't look at me. You should go. You have studying to do. I am not leaving. He snorted. You say that like I cannot shove you out the door. You look tired. You cannot shove anything. He let out a breath that might have been a laugh. Or a sigh. Couldn't tell. Minutes passed. Then he said, You want to know why I cheat? Yes. No judgment. I cannot promise that. He gave me a side glance. At least you are honest. He rubbed his hands together, staring at the floor. Mother got sick 2 years ago. The medicine is expensive. My sister needs food and clothes. And the city is the city. It bites hard. So I learned tricks, disguises, sleight of hand, stolen test answers, anything that kept us alive. I listened to him talk the way I had listened to ancient masters in lecture halls. Carefully, quietly, he went on. People think I enjoy it. Being a nuisance. Being clever. I do not. I just refuse to starve. You are brilliant, I said before I could stop myself. He blinked, thrown. I am not. You are. You understand people. You read faster than I do. You make strategies in seconds. He shifted, uncomfortable. Clever is different from brilliant. No, it is not. He looked away. You are the brilliant one. You have a future. I envy you, I said. The words surprised even me. Zhou Fan turned to me slowly. What could you possibly envy? You move through the world without chains. I have rules tied around my neck. Family expectations. Reputation. Duty. You have freedom, I said. I have desperation, not freedom, he said softly. Still, you live by your own choices, even when they are dangerous, I said. He studied me. For once, there was no sarcasm in his eyes, only something warm, something that made my chest feel unsteady. He whispered, You are lonely, Li Ming. I know. We didn't speak for a long moment. His shoulder brushed mine. I didn't move away. I felt him breathe in, slow and unsure. Then he leaned just barely closer. His forehead touched my temple. It should have startled me. Didn't. I turned toward him at the exact moment he turned toward me. Our lips met in the softest, smallest kiss I had ever imagined. A quiet touch. A question more than an answer. His breath hitched. Mine faltered. He rested his hand against my chest like he needed something steady. I didn't pull back. When the kiss ended, he stayed close. Our foreheads touched. His voice was barely a breath. Do not make that a habit. You started it, I whispered. He huffed a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. We are both idiots. Yes. And this is a mistake. Yes. But you are not moving away. No. Only after several long, warm seconds did we separate. Not far. Never far. We stayed awake until dawn, watching over his mother. His sister slept soundly. The world outside dimmed into early morning colors. When Zhou Fan finally dozed off, leaning against my shoulder again, I slipped out quietly to get fresh water. That was when I noticed a leather pouch near the door. It wasn't his. The seal on it chilled my blood. The insignia belonged to the official bureau. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were documents about the bounty, details about the political deal Zhou Fan had overheard, notes about silencing witnesses, and stamped across the papers, written in bold ink, was my family name. My father's name. My heartbeat hammered in my ribs. I reread the lines, hoping I was wrong. But the ink did not lie. My father was part of the corruption. He had known about the bounty hunter. He had helped set the hunt in motion. For a long time, I stood frozen, the morning light slipping across the pages like a slow, cold wave. Everything I knew fractured, and all I could think was one single terrifying truth. I had kissed a boy my family wanted dead, and I was no longer sure which side I belonged to. I barely slept after finding the documents. By dawn my mind was a mess of fear, disbelief, and something I didn't want to name. I left Zhou Fan's home quietly, carrying the papers under my robe as if they were poison. Maybe they were. My father's study was still lit when I returned to our estate. He always claimed he worked late for the good of the empire, though the older I grew, the more hollow that sounded. I pushed the door open without knocking. He looked up, startled. "Li Ming? You look ill." I dropped the pouch on his desk. "Explain." His gaze tightened. He opened the pouch slowly, like he already knew what waited inside. When he reached the page with his own signature authorizing surveillance, he exhaled through his nose. "Where did you find these?" "Not important. Why are you involved in this? Why is a bounty hunter chasing someone who did nothing except overhear corruption?" I stepped closer. "You do not understand the situation, and you do not need to," he said. "I do," I insisted. "Zhou Fan. Stop. Do not say his name in this room." The word cracked like a whip. "Then tell me why you are helping hunt him." He stood, closing the folder with a force that made the ink stamps quiver. "There are things beyond your reach. Investigations, political alliances, dangerous men. You will ruin everything if you get involved. He is innocent. He is a street rat who saw something he had no right to see." My jaw clenched. "You sound like the corrupt ones." He glared. "I am protecting our family." "No, you are protecting yourself," I said quietly. For a moment, his expression flickered with something I had never seen in him. Fear? Shame? Couldn't tell. It vanished quickly. "You will stay out of this. You will keep your distance from that boy. You will pretend you never crossed paths," he said. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. "Too late for that." His eyes narrowed. "Li Ming, I am warning you." I left before he said anything worse, or before I said something I would regret. When I reached the courtyard, guilt and anger churned inside me so violently I almost couldn't breathe. I needed air. I needed clarity. I needed to see him. When I returned to Zhou Fan's home, the door was ajar. His mother and sister were gone, maybe visiting neighbors. The bed was empty. Zhou Fan stood in the corner, holding the same documents I had taken from my father. His hands trembled. "Where did you get those?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "Does it matter?" "Zhou Fan." He finally faced me. His eyes were not angry. They were hurt in a way that made my stomach drop. "You were reading these in my house in the morning, while I was asleep, while my mother was recovering, and you never said a word. It is not what you think." "Really? Because it looks exactly like you were planning to hand me over." His laugh was thin and bitter. "No," I stepped closer. "I was trying to understand. I confronted my father." He flinched at that. "You brought your father into this?" "He was already in it. He signed half the orders," I said. Zhou Fan shook his head and backed away. "I should have known. I should have known you would pick your side eventually." "I am not picking them." "You hesitated. You looked at these papers with that quiet, scholarly face of yours and thought, maybe he is guilty. Maybe this is easier." His voice cracked. That is not true. But he wasn't listening anymore. He shoved the papers into my chest and moved past me. I grabbed his wrist. Zhou wait. Listen to me. His voice was low and shaky. I trusted you. You still can. He pulled his hand away. I cannot. Not when the people hunting me share your blood. That is exactly why I am trying to protect you. No. You are trying to protect your conscience. He laughed again. Softer. Sadder. His words cut deeper than I expected. You are being unfair. And you are being naive. A sudden sound at the window snapped both our heads around. A shadow moved. Light glinted off a metal buckle. Zhou face went pale. He found me. The bounty hunter stepped inside with the ease of someone who had done this 100 times. Tall. Expression blank. His voice cold. Zhou. I moved in front of him without thinking. He has done nothing wrong. The man raised an eyebrow. You are in my way. You cannot take him. Watch me. He lunged. Zhou shoved me aside and leapt through the back window in a single sharp movement. The bounty hunter followed instantly. I scrambled after them, knocking over a table, stumbling through the broken frame. Zhou was already 3 roofs away, running fast enough to make his disguised stories suddenly believable. The bounty hunter chased him across the tiles with frightening precision. Zhou! I shouted. He didn't look back. Not even once. I tried to follow, but the hunter was faster than me. Stronger. And the moment he realized I was behind him, he kicked loose a piece of roofing that sent me sliding back, forced to cling to the edge to avoid crashing onto the street. By the time I got my footing again, both of them were gone. Only the evening wind remained, carrying the last echo of his footsteps. I stood there, chest burning, hands shaking. I had lost him, not just to the bounty hunter, to the fracture between us, to the silence he left behind. I climbed down slowly, feeling something heavy settle inside me, something I had no words for. When I stepped back into the empty house, the documents lay on the floor, scattered like broken promises. And for the first time since meeting him, I knew I might not be able to fix this. I spent the next 2 days chasing ghosts. Zhou was nowhere, the bounty hunter was everywhere, and my father's silence was a threat I felt even in my sleep. The documents I stole rattled in my satchel like chains. Each one carried another signature, another bribe, another order to hunt Zhou down. By the 3rd night, I made my choice. I took everything. Every paper, every ledger, every name tied to the corruption he overheard. I copied them by candlelight until my fingers cramped. My father's handwriting stared back at me in every line, and with each stroke of my brush the space between us widened. When I finally stepped out of the estate carrying evidence that would destroy my family's standing, my heartbeat felt steady for the first time in days. Terrifying but steady. I headed toward the outskirts. Rumor said a boy in a green cloak had been seen slipping between warehouses there. Zhou liked green. Said it made him look less suspicious, which was either very clever or completely delusional, but it was undeniably him. I found him exactly where the whispers led me. Cornered. He stood at the end of a dim alley, back pressed against a wall, breath sharp and uneven. The bounty hunter advanced on him slowly, a blade glinting in his hand. Step aside, you have run enough, the hunter said. Zhou voice shook, but his sarcasm didn't. I run because your personality terrifies me. Ever tried smiling? The hunter didn't react. Zhou smile faltered. Worth a try. I moved before I could even think. Leave him. Both of them turned. Zhou eyes widened. I couldn't tell if the emotion there was relief or disbelief. Li Ming, what are you doing here? He breathed. Something difficult, I said. The bounty hunter didn't waste time. He lunged. I pushed Zhou behind me at the same moment the blade swept forward. Pain ripped through my side. The world blurred, then sharpened in a painful flash. Zhou caught me before I hit the ground. Are you insane? Why would you? Because he was going to kill you. That is his job. And protecting you is mine, I muttered. He made a strangled sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You are the worst scholar I have ever met. The bounty hunter stepped closer. Zhou Fan tightened his hold on me, panic in every line of his body. Then he shouted, "Over here!" and hurled a clay jar from the ground at the man's head. It shattered, spraying dust everywhere. For the first time, the bounty hunter hesitated. Just long enough for Zhou Fan to yank me to my feet and drag me down the alley. We ran until my vision dimmed and my legs buckled. He pulled me into an abandoned warehouse and shut the door. Then he eased me onto a pile of old sacks. "Take off your robe," he ordered. "I am injured, not indecent," I said. "Li Ming, you are bleeding everywhere. If you pass out before I finish yelling at you, I will be upset. Your priorities are questionable. So are yours." His hands shook as he undid the ties at my waist. Warm fingers brushed my skin, and I tried not to flinch when he pressed cloth to the wound. "Hold still," he murmured. "That hurts. Good. You deserve it." But his voice was soft in a way that betrayed him. He kept glancing at my face like he was checking if I was still breathing. When he finished bandaging me, he sat beside me, knees touching mine. The warehouse was quiet except for our uneven breaths. "I thought you hated me," he said quietly. "I was angry, not hateful. You looked like you were choosing your family." "I did choose, just not them," I said. He stared at me, eyes shining in the low light. "Why? I could not let you die. Not like that. Not because of something you never meant to overhear." He swallowed hard. "You threw away your entire life for me. It was not much of a life if I had to watch you be hunted." His laugh was weak but real. "You are so dramatic. You inspire it." He leaned in then stopped like he caught himself. "Li Ming. Yes. You scared me, more than the bounty hunter ever did," he whispered. I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. His fingers tightened around mine. "I thought you would never look at me again," I said. "You saved me. You idiot scholar." I smiled despite the pain. "Zhou Fan." He looked at me like the world had narrowed to this point alone. "If you faint, I will be offended." "I am not fainting." "Good." He kissed me. Slow this time. Careful. Certain. His lips trembled, and mine were clumsy from the pain, but the moment felt whole. Real. Nothing accidental. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "If you ever jump in front of a blade again, I will kill you myself." "That is contradictory." "You are contradictory." We stayed like that until our breathing evened out. "What do we do now?" he asked softly. I reached into my satchel and pulled out the stack of documents, the proof that would ruin powerful men. "We expose the truth. Together," I said. He stared at the papers, then at me. "You really are insane. I learned from you." He leaned against me, voice warm and breathy. "Fine. If we go down side by side." "No, if we go down fighting," I said. Zhou Fan laughed into my shoulder. "I like that better." Outside, the wind rattled the warehouse door. Inside, we sat braced against each other, the weight of our choice settling over us. No way back. But for the first time, that didn't feel frightening. Felt right. When dawn arrived, the whole city felt tense enough to snap. Word had spread overnight that officials were gathering in the main administrative hall for an emergency review. Zhou Fan insisted the phrasing sounded like a bad play title. I told him it was more serious than that. He said that was exactly the problem. We slipped into the hall through a side entrance. My satchel felt heavier than any textbook I ever carried, filled with ledgers, letters, and signed orders that would drag powerful men down. I looked at Zhou Fan. His cloak was patched, his hair tied loosely, his grin sharp enough to cut rope. "You ready?" I asked. "No, but you will do something reckless if I am not here to supervise," he said. "That seems unlikely. Please, you throw yourself at blades now." I sighed. "Once." He flicked my shoulder. "Once is a pattern when you are involved." Before I could argue, the doors opened. A wave of murmurs flooded the hall as council members and constables took their seats. My father sat near the front, expression unreadable, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles looked carved from bone. Zhou Fan leaned close. Your father looks like he swallowed a mosquito. He always looks like that. Then he must be miserable. I hid a smile and stepped forward. The room quieted. I placed the stack of documents on the center table. These are proof of corruption tied to the bounty issued on Zhou Fan, I said. A ripple of shock moved like wind across tall grass. My father stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. Li Ming, do not do this. But I was done listening to him. The orders came from within this hall. They were authorized by men whose duty is to protect the people, not silence witnesses. One councilman snapped, You expect us to believe a scholar's accusation and a street boy's story? Zhou Fan stepped forward before I could stop him. Street young man, I am legally an adult even if my hobbies disagree. He corrected. The councilman glared. You confessed to fraud. Zhou Fan grinned. Not fraud. Creative academic participation. I closed my eyes. Zhou Fan, please. Fine fraud. He muttered. Before the argument could spiral, I opened the ledgers to the pages with the bribery records. Then I placed the signed execution order on top, the one my father had tried to hide. The room erupted with outrage. Officials stood, shouted, pointed fingers. Constables moved in. I felt Zhou Fan grip my arm, grounding me as chaos swirled. My father stared at the pages like they were burning through the table. Finally he said, voice quiet and cold, You truly choose him over your family. No, I choose what is right, I said. He flinched, just a little. Enough to tell me he had known this day could come. The senior counselor struck his staff on the ground. The hall fell silent again. These documents will be reviewed. If they are authentic, the bounty will be voided, and charges will be brought against those involved. Zhou Fan squeezed my hand once, sharp and quick. Hear that? I might live long enough to annoy you for decades. Wonderful. The counselor nodded toward him. Until the investigation is complete, you and your family will be placed under protection. Zhou Fan blinked. Protection? Like actual protection? Or the kind where someone watches me from behind a tree and pretends to be invisible? Actual protection. Oh, that is new. I laughed under my breath. The hall emptied slowly as constables escorted protesting officials away. My father remained seated, staring at nothing. I approached him because leaving without a word felt wrong. I did not want to do this to you. He didn't look up. Then why did you? Because someone innocent was going to die. You risked everything. Yes, because everything meant nothing if I let him be hunted, I said. My father closed his eyes. You are not the son I expected. I am not sure I am the son you wanted either. He didn't deny it, but he didn't stand up to stop me when I walked away. Outside, sunlight cut through the city's morning haze. Zhou Fan waited at the gate, leaning against a pillar like he had been posing for hours. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow. So, did he disown you? I do not know. Do you care? I thought about it. Less than I expected. He nodded slowly. Good. Families are complicated. Even mine. But at least mine hits me with words, not politics. That is not comforting. Was not trying to comfort you. Was trying to be relatable. I exhaled, half a laugh. Zhou Fan. What? You could have died last night. He shrugged. I could also die from eating spoiled dumplings. Life is wild. That is not how anyone sees life. That is how I see it. Besides, you protected me, which was stupid, and flattering, and still stupid. He nudged my shoulder. I looked at him carefully. He looked back, eyes bright and weary at once. We should rest, I said. We should eat. You nearly bled to death and I have been running on spite and for peanuts. He corrected. As we walked down the street, he bumped my shoulder again. Also, when this is over, we need to talk about your kissing technique. My kissing technique? Yes, our third kiss was good. Very good actually. Suspiciously good. But I think you cheated the system. How does one cheat at kissing? You leaned in at a scholarly angle. That does not mean anything. It means everything. I groaned. I regret saving you. No, you do not. I am delightful. He grinned. We walked on, the city wide open ahead of us. For the first time since meeting him, I felt something simple and impossible ease. Like the world might finally belong to us, even if only for a few steps. Zhou Fan hooked his finger through mine. So, partner, what now? Now we start living, I said. He smirked. After breakfast, right? Yes, after breakfast, I said. And together we stepped into a future I wasn't afraid of anymore. We should have known the calm wouldn't last. Peace never stays long in a city built on secrets. But that morning by the riverside felt so gentle that even I, the cautious one, forgot what hunted shadows looked like. Zhou Fan arrived carrying a basket he pretended he hadn't stolen. Someone left this outside their kitchen table, very irresponsible of them, he said, sitting beside me. Meaning you took it. Meaning I rescued it. I nudged his shoulder. You could buy things now. Honest things. He considered that. True. But stealing tastes better. The river glimmered like melted silver. Boats drifted lazily past. Children splashed in the shallows. It felt like the sort of day I used to imagine when studying late into the night. Only now, instead of facing that future alone, I had Zhou Fan leaning against me, complaining about the heat and the mosquitoes and the way my hair never stayed straight. He plucked a blade of grass and waved it like a conductor's baton. When the exams end, we should leave the city for a while. Where would we go? He shrugged. Anywhere. Everywhere. Up north. Down south. Across the mountains. I do not care as long as you stop waking me at dawn to review law codes. I thought you liked learning things. I like learning things that make me look clever. Memorizing tax penalties does not do that, he said. I laughed softly. You memorized them faster than I did. I have a sharp mind and beautiful hands, he said smugly. That is unrelated. It is entirely related. He reached over and brushed a thumb along my jaw. Not teasing this time, just quiet affection. You look peaceful today, he murmured. Do I? Yes, it suits you. We kissed then, unhurried, sun-warm. His hand cupped my neck like he was holding something precious. I knew that look in his eyes. Mischief blended with a tenderness he tried to hide. I still wasn't used to being looked at like that. He pulled back with a soft sigh. We really might have a future, you know? We do, a long one, I said. He smiled. I like when you say things like that. Makes the world feel less sharp. We talked more about traveling. About the places he wanted to scam and the places I wanted to study. About his mother and sister finally resting safely. About the first night we hid in that cramped attic, when he pretended he wasn't cold but stole my cloak anyway. You let me, he said. You were shivering. I was being dramatic. When are you not dramatic? He flicked my forehead. You should appreciate me. I bring excitement to your boring scholar life. I was smiling when it happened. He had turned toward me, lips parting, some witty remark forming in his throat. Maybe something about how I looked at him. Maybe a joke about our first kiss. Maybe something softer, something he would never get to finish. The arrow hit him before he could speak. His body jerked forward. His eyes widened, confusion flashing through them so quickly I didn't understand what was happening. I caught him before he collapsed, my hands already warm with his blood. Zhou Fan, no. No, I screamed. He blinked up at me, breath shallow. Ow! I choked on something that wasn't quite a sob. Stay with me. Do not cry. Makes you look old, he muttered, wincing. I tried to hold pressure on the wound. My hands shook so violently I barely recognized them. Help! I shouted toward the riverbank. Someone help! People turned, startled by the sound. Too far. Too slow. Zhou Fan grabbed my sleeve weakly. Hey, focus. Look at me. He whispered. I am. You look terrified. I am. He gave a faint smirk. Cute. This is not. Do not joke right now. My voice cracked. He coughed, and the sound made my whole world collapse inward. I always joke. You knew this when you kissed me. Zhou Fan, you were going to be fine. I said softly, Even I didn't believe it. He lifted a trembling hand to my cheek. His fingers brushed away a tear before he pulled me closer. I was going to say something, he murmured. Before, you know. Say it now. He took in a slow, painful breath. Li Ming, I wanted to tell you that His voice faded. His fingers went slack. And the rest of the sentence died with him. I held him long after his body went still. The river kept moving. Children kept laughing in the distance. Boats drifted by like nothing had happened. But my world had stopped entirely. When the constables arrived, I didn't let them take him from my arms. Not until the sun slipped behind the buildings and the air cooled enough to make me shiver. I cleaned the blood from his chest with trembling hands. I brushed his hair back. I closed his eyes. Then I took the hairpin he always used in his disguises, the one he claimed was lucky, although luck had never favored him. I tucked it inside my scholar's robe, over my heart. Promise. A weight. A vow. Whoever loosed the arrow would not escape. This was not justice. This was not mercy. This was revenge. And I would make sure it burned all the way to the core of the men who lit it. The world had taken Zhou Fan from me, so I would take something back. Something equal. Something unforgiving. The beginning of our life together ended on the riverbank. But the next story, the one written with blood, smoke, and ruin, was only beginning in me.